everyone today in this Veyt HUPX joint webinar. The goal of today is to give you a short intro into the main things which happened in this quarter and what's the outlook for next year. And briefly just to introduce everyone, and I will, for that purpose, stop sharing this beautiful banner of today's event. Here we have us, Liesbeth from AIB. Liesbeth Switten is the Secretary General of AIB, and I'm pretty sure all of you are aware that this organization with more than 20 years of history, really the cornerstone of the guarantees of origin within Europe. We also have here Daniel Aronson from Veyt. He's really experienced in the analysis of the geo markets, and altogether with his team, Veyt provides some pretty nice analysis of the geo market, and well, broader terms, not just the geo market, but for today's topic, it's really about the geos. And together with Daniel and Liesbeth, we're gonna have first a fireside chat, really just updates from many countries all over the AIB domains and other newcomers. And after the fireside chat, we're gonna have a presentation from Martin Kader, HUPX, and also then later on we're gonna have presentation from Irina Whiteside about the price drivers and outlook for options. So the Q&A section can be used, and the questions will be answered at the end of today's session. There are no hidden questions, and yeah, those are the most important ones from the technical side. And a general welcome here is that on a personal note, I'm pretty happy to have this whole webinar together with Veyt. Some of you may know that Veyt and HUPX started a collaboration a couple of months ago, and now we are publishing Veyt's prices for our members exclusively just on the day before the auction in order to have their pricing and have them with inputs. So I really believe that such cooperations and also this webinar can be in line with that cooperation. These really help out the market participants, and now I can see that 100 and just 50 attendees joined as of right now. So yeah, let's jump into the fireside chat, and I will ask quickly Liesbeth for introduction, and then Daniel, please go on.
Good morning all, and thanks Laszlo for the introduction. I'm not going to jump into the fire, but I really like the concept of this fireside chat. Intention today is to have a wrap up of what AIB is doing in terms of expansion, because as you all are aware, there's a lot ongoing. Laszlo, I have one slide that I would like you to share for those, because we're so many. Quick introduction to AIB. We are not a European agency. We are a member organization, an international non-profit organization based in Brussels. Our members are the issuing bodies of guarantees of origin. So all our members have been appointed by their government to operate a system for GOs in their country, or a domain as we call it. Our geographic scope is Europe, so we operate in Europe that is up into Russia, the EU, the EFTA countries, so that's Iceland, Norway, and Switzerland, and the contracting parties of the energy community. This means that, for instance, Morocco, Turkey are not in our geographic scope yet. We have expanded very rapidly. We currently cover most of Europe, as you can see from the map. EU countries are nearly all on board, and I will go into detail with Derson on this. And then we also are expanding in terms of gas guarantees of origin, with the first gas members onboarding, and by the end of this year we will have already 4. And you will see the first trades of gas geos over the hub. The hub is an IT platform that we operate. It's not a trading platform. It's a platform where we connect all the national registries, and where we gather statistical data, and where we do some fraud checks on the transfers of geos going through Europe. I think that more or less covers for an introduction. And with that, I would like to invite Daniel to start our dialogue.
Thank you, Liesbeth, and thank you for that introduction to the AIB. I think many appreciated that. I know me myself, when I started doing research about the geo system 10 years ago, the AIB was for me a, what is it? But I've also seen within those 10 years that you have developed a lot and grown your expansion, covering a lot more new countries. Now recently Greece is being connected to the hub, and imports we see, export is, as I understand, pending, soon gonna start. And you just came back as well from a conference on the energy community in Slovenia. So I'm curious to know a little bit what your experience was there. Are there any other countries from the energy community than Serbia that are looking to become AIB members? So maybe you can just touch upon that first and give us a little bit feedback on what happened. What's the atmosphere around the AIB and geos in the energy?
So basically the conference was organized by the Secretariat of the Energy Community, and it was the first of its kind. It was the first conference in the energy community on specifically dedicated to renewables and guarantees of origin. It was really a big success with I think over 200 participants from all of the energy community, and that was both regulatory authorities, but also market players. And there's a lot of interest of the countries of the energy community to move forward. This is a trend that we've been observing over the past year. A lot of interest, not only from authorities, but also from developers in Europe, to move into those countries and to set up renewable production and get guarantees of origin for it. As most of you might know, under Article 19 of the Renewables Directive, however, there is no mutual recognition of those guarantees of origin by the European Union. In order for that to be established, there needs to be two conditions, and that is a physical connection and a treaty that lays down the conditions for these geos to be mutually recognized. Currently, Serbia is the only full member in AIB of electricity geos. However, their geos are not recognized in the EU countries for disclosure. Obviously, this is quite frustrating for them, as they did a lot of efforts in implementing the system. But there seems to be light at the end of the tunnel. The 14th of December, the Ministerial Council of the Energy Community will meet with the Commission and agree on a roadmap towards this mutual recognition. Over the past weeks and months, we were in touch with the Commission for seeing what criteria should be included there. However, the Commission is quite I would say strict when it comes to those countries, that it's not just about implementing guarantees of origin and Article 19 of the directive, but it's really about implementing the full energy package into national legislation. So that will take some time. This being said, Daniel, coming back to your question, there is Georgia, who is a scheme observer in AIB and who has already contracted a registry operator. Ukraine, over summer, the law has changed so that the regulator is the Newark are the issuing body for electricity, and they are also in talks of joining AIB. They're very, very committed because they really want to prepare their country for after the war. They know there will be a lot of investments coming towards Ukraine, and they really want to have this geo system in place so that it can really kick off with PPAs, including guarantees of origin, as soon as the war is over. There's Albania. There is the regulator who is the issuing body. I had a great talk with the Secretary General, and they are also currently implementing a regional geo system that was launched on initiative of the energy community, and they target to be an AIB member already by the end of this year. So Albania suddenly really wants to move forward. And then there's Bosnia and Herzegovina, who have been an observer in AIB for many, many years. And there as well, there is the intention from the Minister of Energy to move forward to implement a registry and to start implementing the Renewables Directive. All in all, you can hear that there's really a lot of push within those countries to move forward. And the basis for that is usually the regional geo system that was developed by the energy community, because there's so much work to be done. The energy community has tendered for a contract with an IT supplier that all the countries can use as a basis, and that will be some kind of a regional geo system with a lower threshold, but that will be a perfect step up to full compliance with not only European legislation, but also our AIB X standards.
Okay, thank you very much. It sounds like I got some feedback on my voice is being a bit, is it breaking when I'm talking?
It's okay for me, but
I apologize for that, and I don't know. Unfortunately, I don't have a headset here, so but thank you for that. Now you touched upon something interesting here with AIB being operating across different jurisdictions or different regions with different rules and so forth, and really show how the AIB is, even if it facilitates it technically it facilitates the international trade, you're still bound by the laws, the regional EU laws that are that is preventing the free movement basically of geos into the EU. But coming back to the EU, there's also things going on there, as we could see on your map. I actually got a headset here. So let's see if it works better if I plug this in. Let's see. Is my sound a little bit better now?
Yeah, that's great.
Perfect. Look, going back to the EU. So Bulgaria has been an AIB observer for over a year, and recent legislative changes have opened the door for the Bulgarian registry SEDA to become a full member. What steps need to be undertaken by SEDA before full membership is granted?
Yeah, so SEDA actually was really a victim of the political situation in their country with political instability, but finally things are looking more prosperous for them. So I have an echo. Daniel, can you mute?
Yep.
With the Renewable Act that is now finalized, and there is a geo ordinance almost ready. It will be signed by the minister soon, and then they will advance their membership of the AIB, not only of the AIB, but also of the X electricity scheme, because scheme membership is what's needed for geos to be able to call X geos and be transferred over the hub. So that means that the whole system really fulfills this X rules booklet, this X standard. I was in touch with them yesterday, and apparently the signature of this ordinance is pending. It will be for any day now, and then they will continue their drafting their domain protocol. A domain protocol is a document that we ask from all our members, whereby they describe how they have implemented the standard in their system. It is for download on our website, so this is to all participants. If you want information on the geo system of a certain country, go to our website and download the domain protocol of the country, and you will have the full overview. And this is the document that Bulgaria will be drafting probably early next year. So I think that membership in 2024 is not just feasible, but I think it will really happen.
Oh, that's exciting to hear. And you also have other countries like Poland. They also established now. There's a lot of things happen. I guess the prices are speeding up processes.
Yeah, well, Poland is and I already saw a question in the chat about that. So let me tell you something about Poland. The formal issuing body in Poland is the president of the regulatory authority, and in the past we had talks with them, but we never got any much progress. However, over summer, the law has changed on 17th August, and that really explicitly introduced the possibility for the issuing body to join AIB. The regulations in this regard already enter into force on the 1st of January next year. So this can happen quickly. However, Poland has an existing system and a registry, and bringing this fully in line with this EEX system might require some time and efforts. But it's looking very, very positive there. And what I also observe is that also from the Polish market players, there's more and more interest. We've been invited to a resource conference in spring in Poland to also, widen the knowledge base and the support within Poland for the GEO system.
Would you say that the prices of GEOs, as they've gone up, we see they've gone down a bit because the fundamentals have changed, but have that triggered interest more? Have you seen greater interest since 2022, for instance, when price picked up from 1.7 to the peak in 10?
Yeah, well, what I can say from the point of view of issuing bodies is obviously the high prices have sparked interest from investors, from developers, from market participants, and they really pressure their governments and their authorities, hence process speed up. This is how the world works. What I also see is that there's more interest from organizations like the World Bank and the ICF, so they were all in touch indeed. So I think the high prices have certainly impacted the interest for GEOs. But there's also new reporting obligations coming up, new European legislation. CBAM is in force. So there is a lot going on policy side that also obviously impacts the interest for GEOs, and that speeds up legal developments in many countries.
Yeah. On the topic of regulations, we see a lot of different regulations, such as the RFNBO Delegated Act, and we see also some market players, tech providers as well, talking about greater granularity, like you have 24/7 matching timestamps. There's also the high prices that kind of have, what can I say? The high prices and the high volatility have created greater need for more real-time data, not only in terms of prices. We have seen that here at Veyt. We also see that there is a need for greater transparency when it comes to the underlying fundamentals of the GEO market. Is that something that you are experienced as well? How is the discussions going on with the AIB, keeping in mind also that you are an organization which is having members, some of which has been in the system for a very long time. They have resources, they have experience of it. And then you have new members coming in, which might have less resources, definitely less experience. How do you balance this? What's the discussions going forward? Also with the new hub and so forth.
Yeah. It's like you say. So basically, you must know that AIB, as a member organization, we do what our members ask from us. And one of the things that really keeps us busy these days is replacing our hub. So we are building a new hub, upgrading it to accommodate APIs, for instance. So the IT side is becoming very vital. And with that, indeed, we foresee future developments like when granular GOs would come into place, meaning watt-hour GOs instead of megawatt-hour GOs. You might imagine the volumes being traded will raise exponentially. So regarding granularity, we have a strategy decision at our general meeting next week. What we see is we have a few first movers among our members, but many are not yet into this. So it's always a tricky way to move forward. We have a strategy for next year on a few principles that we want to facilitate granular certificates. We want to standardize them, but we would also really allow our members to choose whether to implement it, to facilitate a gradual transition. And we also acknowledge that there's multiple options for GOs to interact with granular certificates. The main worry for us is always avoiding double counting, and that's what we will continue to do in this respect.
Okay. And also in terms of, so that's the granularity, in terms of frequency of data updates and so forth, is that also something that, like we're talking about a monthly granularity, and then some are talking about hourly matching and so forth, what's the discussions there?
Yeah, well, this is part of a data strategy we're elaborating, but given the resources, we are moving at a pace that is just feasible. But part of the data strategy is indeed to provide more frequent updates of statistics, to already have to have more granular statistics as well, so with even more detail. But this is work in progress. We are first making sure that the basis is there, the IT basis, and then as part of the strategy, we will move forward on this, but that will not be early next year. That will be further down the line, because there's other priorities we have to tackle. For instance, the content on the GOs is also changing. Our members are implementing a new data format as we speak, called the version 80, with new information that is put on the GOs, and we are even preparing already a next data format, which is in line with what CEN demands from us, but also with developments in the gas sector.
Thank you very much for that update from the AIB. That was all the questions I had from my side, and I guess we can open up for some questions from the audience as well. There are any.
Yeah, I can throw them. So questions are coming from the audience. We have now 12 open questions, and one about Poland. I assume that was already answered, but another interesting country is Romania. What's the situation with Romania?
Yeah, so Romania, there also it's going really quickly. The regulator, Andre, is the issuing body, and they are currently working very closely with the Austrian regulator, E-Control, with a series of workshops helping them to prepare AIB membership and prepare legislation to implement RED 2. There's there as well a big push from the markets, from developers, World Bank, IFC, European Bank for Reconstruction and Development. They're all active there. So I hope that, and I think they will also move forward pretty soon, and I hope that they will start membership process early next year. And how long that takes is always a question. If the legislation is in place, it can go quite quickly, but at least a year is usually needed before you get full membership.
Thank you, Liesbeth. And we won't have time for all the questions, but there are multiple questions regarding Albania and the energy community countries. So what's the situation, for example, with Albania? And also, if I can join to a topic, what are the possibilities to accept energy community GOs in the EU?
Currently, energy community GOs are not accepted. They are accepted in Switzerland, But for the rest, they are not accepted for disclosure, even if technically perhaps the trade over the hub is possible, because that is what we do. We facilitate as AIB. It is up to every country to accept or not for disclosure. And currently, no EU country accepts Serbian GEOs for disclosure. And then regarding mutual recognition, as said, there is a roadmap being prepared by the Commission, by the European Commission, that will be agreed on 14 December with the Ministerial Council of the Energy Community. I'm not, let's await this roadmap and see what it takes for the energy community countries to become fully in line with RED II and their GEOs to become fully accepted in the EU. But that's not up to us. We facilitate. We make sure that our members adhere to a standard so that the quality is okay. But there's also the political side, which is something we cannot interfere with. And that is the process, and that takes the time that is needed.
Yeah, that's really promising. I believe all of us are looking forward to it. And if you go up the northern part of Europe, there is a question about Iceland, that how was it resolved?
Yeah, so let me quickly explain the Icelandic case, because not everybody might be aware of that. AIB is a member organization, and our members commit to implement our EEC standard, the booklet, into their legislation. Sometimes this standard even complements their legislation, and this is also contractually agreed both between AIB and our members, but also between the issuing bodies and their account holders. And in that contractual framework, we have a quality assurance system consisting of periodic audits and reviews, but also for detecting non-compliances. And following complaints regarding double counting, potential double counting, in January, we have launched a compliance assessment, whereby a rectification order was issued in April. Over the summer, Landsnet have worked very hard. So Landsnet is the issuing body, the AIB member. They have worked very hard together with the Icelandic authorities to meet this rectification order. And on 10th of November, our board decided to follow the advice from our assessments panel that the requirements had been met. So the Icelandic authorities are now taking up this issue further within Iceland, but for us, the case is closed. We will follow up on what follow-up actions are being taken in Iceland, like we do with all members during the periodic audits. And we learned a lot during this process, mainly regarding reporting under voluntary standards like the Greenhouse Gas Protocol, how this potentially can be in conflict with the spirit of the European GEO system. And together with all the members, we continue to just strengthening our standard. We are in dialogue with sector federations worldwide, with the WRI and the International Energy Agency to address double claiming, and to continue to strengthen disclosure of the origin of energy in Europe.
Thanks. And also connecting to Iceland, is there a chance for Norway to have anything similar to happen?
No, there is no complaint against Norway. So there is obviously the periodic audits that are ongoing, that take place every 3 years, but currently there is no case against Norway.
Thanks. And I believe we have time for one last question, and we touched many registries, so let's have a question about one of the biggest, but not an AIB member registry. It's about the UK. Do you see that there are any news, Liesbeth, from OFGEM joining AIB and UK starting to accept GEOs again?
No, I am in touch with OFGEM and BASE, who is also responsible. There as well, UK is now treated as a third country. And the treaty between the UK and the EU does not contain any information about GEOs. So the political question is not resolved there. We had a good contact with OFGEM. They were coming to our meetings, but this is really fully stopped. So I think it would need a political action, namely the setup of a treaty on GEOs, before I think anything moves again. For now, from our part, I think everything is definitely stopped.
Yeah, thanks. then we will remain within the borders of the EU and the energy community. Looking forward to it. Liesbeth, Daniel, thank you for your participation. Questions are still coming in, so if you can, feel free to answer and type the answers written. And now we have here also Marton Kader, Head of Sales of HUPX, who will give a presentation about, not surprisingly, the HUPX GO market, and I believe a bit of an outlook too.
Hello, everyone. I hope everybody's hearing me and you can see my slides. Yes, my colleagues confirmed. So let's begin. Hello, everyone. I'm Marton Kader, Head of Sales and Business Development. And yes, briefly, I would like to introduce shortly our marketplace and, of course, as the title also promised, some insights regarding our auctions and how our traders behaved in the last couple of months. Everything started last year in June, but the first Pan-European Geo exchange as HUPX GO market started in September 2022. We had some basic principles when we set up the design of our marketplace. It's basically the blueprint of the classic energy exchange operation model, and we wanted to create a market with possibly no risk on the market participant side with low costs. Of course, we wanted a multiple seller model where everyone can come and sell their GEOs on the pan-European market. And of course, we wanted to set up a simple and versatile solution to that. If we are going into these three aspects, one and I think a really important aspect here is that on the geo market we are offering a self-cleared marketplace where cash collaterals are gathered and pre-transferred geo collaterals are also guaranteed the orders and the deals afterwards. No third party is needed for that. All market participants are only connected to HUPX. We are taking care of all the self-clearing activities. For the pan-European and the multiple seller aspect, I'm happy to say that we already made quite progress there. We have 55 members from 15 countries, and for already GEOs from 9 countries were offered. Of course, this multiple seller model entailed that single clearing prices are settled for each preference GEOs, and of course, any AIB country GEO can be offered and traded on our market. And about the simplicity and versatility of our solution, what we are really proud of, I think, is the 5 attributes, order attributes we are using, and all our market participants can use in course of their trading. They can set their preferences regarding commission years, regarding technologies, regarding support types, production modes, and of course, the source of origin and the country there. We have mostly auctions, and on all our auctions, anonym orders are set on the seller side and on the buyer side also. But let's go into the details of the market and how it looked like in the past few months. We already had more than 5 terawatt-hours traded volume in the course of last 30 months. which we're really okay and happy with. Recent trends are really interesting. I think Irina will say some words about the causes there. But we saw a really volatile market environment in the last year. The last few months showed some lower volatility maybe, and the market getting a little bit calmer, which maybe isn't a really bad thing right now. For the market, for our marketplace, we are expecting more and more foreign volumes, which are not only Hungarian volumes, but from all over Europe. As suggested, we wanted to say some insights about our orders and how our market players behave on our market. First, let's see the demand side. I think we all suspect recently that the demand side is quite active on the geo market. In the recent months, we have a steady more than 1 terawatt-hour demand on each auctions, and about the preferences our buyers set. It's really interesting that technology-wise, most of the orders include more than 1 or 2 technologies. So probably we can say that regarding this, the demand, not too specific technology demand is there on the market. We brought some really just some examples about preferences about the technologies. Hydro, wind, and solar, they are really popular technology preferences. For hydro, 58% of the orders are preferring hydro. These preferences can be understood in a way that each demand offer can set all the technologies it can accept for the given volume and for the given price. So in many cases, one buy order includes at least 8 technologies, which means that the buyer in that case accepts the asked volume for that volume, any technology he or she indicated. One important combination of technologies is this hydro, wind, and solar. 50% of the orders include all 3 of them. So these 3 technologies are quite compatible on our marketplace for half of the demand. And we brought some details on the biomass and the biogas segment also. We see increasing volumes on the seller side in Hungary in the HUPX GO market. For that, the demand side, 22% of the demand accepts biomass only, 30% accepts biomass and biogas. If we are considering the rest of the preferences, one important attribute is this commission year. And the simple cause there is the so-called RE100 requisites, which will set quite strict rules regarding commission years and what commission years can be accepted for the cancellation of the GOs. And if we examine the distribution of the number of commission years eligible for the offers, we can see that there are demand on the really wide scope. It means that significant number of volumes could be fulfilled by power plants older than 80 years. But we can say, and we can see that 30 year is quite an important threshold right now on the order side at the HUPX GO market. Most of the offers prefer power plant generators not older than 30 years. If we examine the rest of the preferences, I didn't want to bring too many detailed insights, but we brought a general examination of our orders. We defined a so-called complex order, which means that one order includes more than one technology, more than one country of origin, and strict commission years. And we can say that 70-80% of the orders include complex preferences. So right now we can say that it's really important on the HUPX GO market that these kind of detailed preferences can be set. And right now we feel that only exchanges using and applying such attributes and such preferences can have a successful business case. So that's for the demand orders and the preferences. Regarding supply, we can say that based on the fundamentals of the Hungarian market right now, solar technology is quite dominant. It means that 80% of all the supply is coming from solar. But as you can see from the technology preferences on the demand side, there is quite a place for improvement on our side, and there is a market and business case for non-solar and non-hydro wind solar GOs also on the HUPX GO marketplace, because demand is there, which can be fulfilled with further technologies. Regarding prices, I brought a short slide about this minimum, maximum, and average prices. As you know, which comes with what comes with all those preferences and all those attributes. We apply single clearing prices, but in one option where every preference can be set, multiple single clearing price occurs. For that, here we can see the minimum, maximum, and average prices. As the prices went down in recent months, volatility followed also, and regarding the preferences and the attributes, the difference in prices are getting smaller also. But what is important from our aspect is that GO market right now also is quite complex. There are really small generators also on the market, and there are really big trading companies with totally different operation model. And it's really important, as we see right now, all the services and all cooperations which can help all players to price GOs effectively. And one last commercial slide, of course. If any question is stayed, I hope I brought some answers also, but please feel free to connect us below email address. Thank you very much, and if you have any question, please ask it in the Q&A session.
Okay. Thank you, Martin. And yeah, we have here now Irina Peltegova, senior power analyst from Veyt, and yeah, we still have time after Irina's presentation to answer the questions also to Martin. But right now, Irina, the floor is yours, and please start your presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Laszlo, and thank you all for staying until the end. I hope you can see my slides.
Yes, we can. Oh.
Okay, perfect. So we're moving right in. So this sorry. Yes, this presentation will cover the market drivers of last year and this year, alongside the latest legislative and regulatory changes that can impact the market going forward. Excuse me. Before moving to the outlook for next year. So the second half of last year was last year was particularly bullish for the geo market, with geo prices, specifically Nordic Hydro 22, jumping from levels around 170 euros per megawatt hour at the start of the year to close to 10 euros in November. So on the fundamental side, a lower than normal hydrological balance created supply shortages, which were exacerbated by the energy crisis. Hydropower producers were cautioned to save water in their reservoirs from May onwards. And also, given the relatively short geo life cycle, market participants were particularly concerned about the fundamental situation, as disclosure period was looming ahead. So this kind of added to the bullish sentiment. Separately, there are some legislative and regulatory incentives that have been supporting the role of GEOs ahead of and during 2022. And they'll continue to play a significant role going forward. So I'll cover these in the next slides. I guess one thing important to point out that the geo curve moved into a firm backwardation towards the end of last year, with the vintage 24 in particular sustaining a significant discount to the shorter dated vintages. So this is just something to bear in mind. So what's been happening this year? So going into the year, prices kept most of the gains initially in the first half of 23, as depleted hydro stocks and the increased buying interest around the disclosure period in March kept the bullish momentum. The unexpected ban on Icelandic geo exports in May helped to maintain the sentiment for a while, given that Iceland is a net geo exporter, although of course the market is fairly small compared to the whole of the AIB. Then the sentiment turned rather bearish over the summer, as firstly confidence in the hydro availability increased, and then we had our official geo Brexit. So UK officially stopped importing geos from the EU from July, which reduced the overall demand for the 2022 and 23 vintages, and this pushed the curve back into a contango, with the 24 vintage rising above the 22 and 23 levels. And also you can see on the table on the left-hand side, the demand volumes in the UK for previous years, just as a reference of how much on the demand side was actually lost. And our 2023 forecast suggests that actually this year we'll see the highest geo supply so far at around 777 terawatt hours. At the same time, electricity demand has been quite low due to, firstly, fairly mild previous winter, and generally a decrease of economic activity. And this in turn obviously reflects on the demand for geos from the energy-intensive industry. However, while we have all these very bearish fundamentals, the introduction of certain European policies which impact the demand and willingness to pay for geos can help support prices going forward. For example, the state aid for indirect emissions costs is particularly bullish. It was already introduced in 2021. And it's bullish because to qualify for the aid, companies have to cover 30% of their electricity needs from carbon-free sources. So this obviously supports the demand side on the market. This year in particular, Europe has been very busy in terms of introducing new policies. Several more legislative legislations have been approved or are in the final stages of approval, and some of them you can see on the table on the right hand side. The first two are expected to have an imminent impact on the market, although in a different way. So the revised 2030 renewables targets should increase the overall supply of renewable capacity and therefore GOs in the next around 6 years. This, of course, is expected to have a bearish impact on the GO market. However, on the other side, the demand for renewable capacity for the purpose of green hydrogen production is also going to be significant. The EU has set a production target of 10 million tons of green hydrogen by 2030, which would require about 500 terawatt hours of renewable electricity production on top of what would be needed for the electrification of the economy. So just to put this into perspective, around 750 terawatt hours of GOs were cancelled in Europe last year. So in that regard, we may not be at the end of the bullish streak for the GO market. And there are just like several other legislative incentives that can affect corporate demand. So looking forward, it would be really crucial to understand how sector coupling and corporate demand would affect the supply-demand balance in the GO market. So as mentioned, legislative and regulatory incentives could increase GO demand of corporate buyers, but also improve the supply and demand balance. Here we have 2 examples from our long-term supply, from our long-term GO forecast, of basically showing how legislative incentives can affect the GOs going forward against the expectation of high renewable build-out. So in our business as usual scenario, we see the supply and demand balance is increasing, so prices are then dropping from 2030. However, this graph does not necessarily take into account the full demand for green hydrogen production. We are working on adding this just because the national energy and climate plans are only now being updated with precise figures and targets for the extra renewable capacities that will be needed to meet the new hydrogen targets. So if if actually hydrogen production does ramp up as expected by 2030 and these 500 terawatt hours are needed solely for hydrogen production in that year, then actually we may see that there's a supply scarcity after 2030. And on the line chart, you can also see prices are declining towards 2040 because generally, we're expecting the increased renewable build out, and the target of reaching net zero emissions by 2050 set in Europe. But you also can see the price difference when you take into consideration the increased corporate demand. And last but not least, our outlook. Well, I guess 2023 is almost over, but still a lot can happen in around a month. So we've seen heavy rain, lower electricity demand, and this led to the market breaking below 4 euros per megawatt hour for the 2023 vintage. So whether or not the next resistance level, which I don't know, could be maybe at 350, will last. It all depends on the increasing electricity demand, in particular from businesses and the sectors that are subject to the regulatory incentives that I mentioned earlier. Generally, the move from a backwardation to contango market in June provides a bullish pull. We expect that the 2023 vintage is probably going to kind of stay within this 3 to 4 euro range in the coming months. But of course, the weather conditions will be crucial as we are entering the winter season. The 2024 vintage has fallen under 5 euros, where we expect it to stay in the short term, with some bearish pull from 2023 price levels due to the swapping possibilities between the 23 and 24 vintages, and also because actually hydro reservoirs are still at pretty good in pretty good condition. Bullish signals for 2024, lots of possibilities there. Of course, the drivers would be weather, the general health of the economy, the speed of renewable capacity build out, and then of course the corporate alignment with the legislative incentives. So this is all for me. I hope I managed to stay within the time. If you have any questions, if we're out of time, you can just email me or message me on LinkedIn. I'm happy to answer them. Thank you.
Thank you, Irina. It was a really nice wrap up and see all the policy changes and bearish, bullish signals. Let's start with a couple of Q&As. We still, I believe, have a couple of minutes, and then there is a question whether, in general, is there any kind of best time to sell geos? And first of all, I would like to raise this question to Martin.
Yeah, hi. Everyone. So thank you for the question. Of course, from an open marketplace point of view, we cannot say what is the best time to sell, but there's obviously there are obviously trends and important milestones on the market. The March 31st date after each year is an important time in this regard. And of course, if you are seeing right now the trends on the geo market is also an interesting point of the market. So yeah, it should be highly considered. But maybe the radio colleague and the real analysts can also give you some insights on that.
Yeah, do you have maybe Irina or Dania any comment on this topic?
Yeah. So one of the things that Irina emphasized in her presentation is that weather conditions have a very big impact as a short driver in the geo market. So, so whether or not it is a good time to sell in the beginning or the end of the year depends a lot. Historically, we see on the hydrological balance. Looking at 2022 and 2023, obviously, as the renewable capacity build out will increase wind and solar as well, that will change over time. But as it is now, you got to keep an eye on the weather in a way for short term changes. But also, as Irina pointed out, it's important to understand what happens on the policy level with the regos and so forth. So it's a very complex environment market participants are moving in. And yeah, that's why we are trying to increase those or mitigate those uncertainties with the models that we are providing at Veyt and the analysis we're providing in terms of the legislative and policy updates that we see from the European Commission and from the EU. So there's not a good answer to that, but keep your eyes on the weather is one, and also the general health of the economy, and see how the electricity demand is going.
Thanks, Daniel. And the next question is also concerned to the prices and to next year about the EU election. Do you see the effect of the EU election next year, how that will impact market sentiment? Maybe to Daniel.
The election next year?
Yeah.
As once again, so Irina pointed out quite a lot of the long-term market drivers in terms of the legislations, and the targets on an EU level have been set. What's really important now to follow is how states commit to these targets and enable them to be reached. So she pointed out two different targets there. One was the general renewable energy targets or electricity build out. That has a bearish impact. But then you have the RFNBO, the renewable hydrogen, which has a very potential bullish impact. So how countries manage and also the market to build out and reach these targets will play a big impact there. And what member states do on national levels. And then, of course, you have these different incentives on that incentivize corporations. That I must say, that is voluntary, even though it's we're kind of moving from a voluntary market to an incentivized voluntary market. So I wouldn't say that the election has much impact on that. You got to keep an eye on what happens on member states, but also what happens in terms of the corporate environment. What if corporates are aligning and picking up on voluntary commitments on consuming renewable electricity and lowering their indirect emissions from electricity consumption? That's what you got to keep an eye on.
Thank you, Daniel.
If I might add something to this, just from kind of my observations and like speaking to participants in different countries, I have the feeling that, as usual, unfortunately, kind of our region, Southeast Europe, corporate demand is yet to kind of, or rather, the corporates is yet to kind of wake up to the sustainability or the need for sustainability compared to Western Europe. So there may be kind of a few years delay before we see an actual kind of boom there.
Thanks, Irina. And the next question is also to you regarding the forecast. Did you take into account possibilities to shift toward granular GEOs? How may it impact the prices in the future?
So I'm not actually involved in the forecast, but my colleagues from the quant team are basically constantly working on adding new scenarios and basically kind of so that you can compare the with the different impacts. But for granular, for the time being, it's not something that we are looking into.
Yeah, thanks. And another question, I believe it's also concerned to the model and the relationship between the renewable and the nuclear GEOs. That do you consider the effect of the shifting of the end consumers toward nuclear GEOs when obviously the prices are high?
Yes, I mean, we just, I think a couple of days ago, we had the news that in France, officially, the nuclear GEOs are basically available. So now it's going to be up to EDF to assess how to approach and enter the market so that it doesn't actually work against its own interests. Yeah, generally speaking, we are looking into those aspects, of course, firstly from just like analyzing the potential impacts through our analyst updates. And yes, most likely we'll also look into this for updating the model as well.
Yeah, thanks, Irina. And just a question to all of you, Liesbeth, Marta, or Daniel, if you have anything to add on this last topic, nuclear GEOs, last final sentence, because all the questions has been answered. So maybe this can be a conclusion of today's discussion.
Yeah, I can start. Nuclear GEOs have been around already for a long time, and now with France moving into them, I think it's just the first country of many that will follow. And it's actually great because it's a next step towards full disclosure, which is obviously the goal, to have all energy consumption cancelled with GEOs, and in that way we will get to a closed system that is fully reliable.
Yeah, and another aspect to the nuclear GEOs there, as Liesbeth said, some of them have been around before, but we've still seen a price difference from nuclear and renewables, meaning that it's not so like there are different reasons why you buy GEOs. Some are doing it to account for the greenhouse gas emissions only. And there, of course, it doesn't matter if it's renewables or if it's nuclear. If you look at the generation-only approach, but nuclear GEOs don't have the renewable attributes, and some actors, for instance, companies under the RE100 initiative, they are focusing on renewables. You can't use nuclear there. So it depends what kind of attributes the market is. And if you look at the prices available now, like the market is preferring the renewableness as well, or the renewable attributes. But it's going to be interesting to see how it with higher prices, if this kind of shifts a bit. Thank you.
Thanks.
Just a short comment. Sitting in Hungary, I also think that nuclear geo is a way to go, and I hope also in Hungary and in the region it will come to life soon, because there are interest for that also in this region.
Thank you all, Liesbeth, Irina, Daniel, and Martin. Thank you for your time, and also thanks for all the attendees who joined us today. Wish you all the best and hope to stay in touch and maybe keep similar sessions in the future. Thank you.
See you next week in Zagreb. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.